Hello everyone, this is Mr. David Wilson here, and today we'll be talking about a science fiction monster film called the Jurassic Games. Be ready, because there are some spoilers ahead. Sometime in the near future, death row criminals are given a chance to earn back their freedom by joining a popular reality show called the Jurassic Games. This forces convicts to survive or die inside a deadly virtual simulation in front of a massive audience, including their own families. One of the contestants, a man named Tucker, was found guilty of murdering his wife despite overwhelming evidence of his innocence. He is forced to join this merciless game show as a last resort to return home to his children. Very soon, the criminals are sent into the virtual simulation, where a masked figure known as the host begins explaining the rules of this survival game. It is quickly revealed that any death occurring inside this virtual world results in the person's death by lethal injection in reality. Furthermore, players must complete their designated missions in time before the bombs on their collars explode. The host explains that their first mission is to locate a nearby safe zone, but he also encourages the contestants to kill their competitors along the way, as there can only be one survivor by the end of the game. To make matters worse, the host summons a gigantic dinosaur that roars furiously at the group, sending everyone running in terror. The giant T-Rex eventually locks onto an elderly man who has fallen. It quickly devours him like a human sandwich, killing the contestant instantly. Because he died in the game, the player dies in the real world as well. This leaves only 9 players left alive. As they make their way into the forest, they are watched by an audience that doesn't have a single shred of sympathy for them. Things take a darker turn as the contestants begin fighting one another with the intent to kill, but the host assures the viewers that these criminals deserve every bit of suffering they experience inside the game. The host reveals to the viewers the crimes of the first contestant who was eliminated. It turns out the old man used to be a chemistry professor who eventually lost his mind and blew up his own university. Despite this, the host promises the victims' families that the criminals will continue to suffer greatly, as even more terrifying trials await them in the near future. At the same time, the youngest contestant, Joy, is wandering through the forest trying to locate the safe zone. She eventually runs into a vicious criminal who begins attacking her, choking her furiously. Luckily, before she is killed, Tucker saves her from behind. However, Tucker is clearly no match for the larger enemy and is continuously pummeled to the ground. With no other choice, Tucker decides to fight dirty, smashing the opponent's skull with a large stone and knocking him out. He is shocked, however, to see Joy finish the kill by crushing the man's head like a psychopath. It is quickly revealed that Joy is not as helpless as her fragile appearance suggests. She begins taunting Tucker, revealing that she knows he was framed for his wife's murder. Stunned by this revelation, Tucker is caught off guard when Joy suddenly attacks him, strangling him with a rope before striking him furiously from behind. Things get even stranger as the girl begins lifting him into the air by pulling the rope, completely defying physics, while mocking him for being a simp and leaving him to die a horrible death. Luckily, before Tucker can be killed, he is saved by another contestant named Ren, who manages to cut the rope. Ren proposes that they work together until they reach the final mission. However, what they don't realize is that the game masters have already sent a pack of raptors toward their location to kill them horrifically. Meanwhile, a reporter for the game show named Laura is interviewing Tucker's children to find out the truth about his crime. To her surprise, Tucker's family is adamant about his innocence, which leads her to question her company's motivations. Laura secretly accesses her employer's computer to look for clues of foul play and quickly realizes that many of the contestants were falsely convicted on purpose to increase the show's dramatic effect. On the other side of the arena, a long-haired criminal called the Wasp accidentally injures his leg while climbing down a hill. His situation worsens when he runs into a pair of brothers who are looking to eliminate the competition. Luckily, the Wasp manages to convince the brothers to join his side by mentioning their sick mother, promising them enough money for her operation if they win. Before their conversation can continue, the trio notices a pack of raptors approaching. Strangely, the animals disappear right before they can attack, allowing the men to escape. It's revealed that they were spared by the showrunners on purpose. The host wanted to build more suspense, like a low-budget movie director, promising a horrible death for all the remaining contestants later on. Very soon, the remaining survivors manage to find the safe zone through different entrances, barely evading the flesh-eating dinosaurs as they carefully enter a mysterious building leading toward the second arena. However, before the contestants can figure out what's going on, they are all knocked out by the showrunners. The host takes this opportunity to play a terrible commercial for his audience, shamelessly trying to sell his cheap action figures from Walmart. Thankfully, he eventually decides to resume the reality show, but he further displays his creepiness by touching the unconscious contestants with his oily fingers before joining them inside the virtual simulation. This causes the players to regain consciousness, and the host explains their next trial. They are trapped inside a maze and must escape. The first person to unlock their chains will be awarded a powerful laser gun. The host commences the second phase, and everyone begins scrambling to unlock their chains and find a way out of the virtual labyrinth. Surprisingly, a vicious criminal named Albert manages to solve the puzzle right away. He grabs the weapon and immediately begins threatening to kill the other contestants. Luckily, Tucker frees himself just in time and knocks Albert to the ground. But the situation worsens as numerous raptors are spawned inside the building. The sudden danger motivates the rest of the players to solve their puzzles quickly. They escape their chains one by one, leaving only Ren behind due to a broken screen on his device. Tucker sees this and quickly shoots Ren's chain, allowing them both to flee the area. Instead of working together, however, Ren decides to head off on his own, leaving Tucker behind. This turns out to be a massive mistake. These raptors are highly intelligent and are clearly planning an ambush. As Ren wanders back into the first room, he finds himself completely surrounded by the vicious dinosaurs. Surprisingly, the man begins attacking the creatures as if he were Bruce Lee, trying to make his ancestors proud. Unfortunately, his kung fu skills are clearly just for show. He is quickly overwhelmed and devoured by the flesh-eating monsters. Meanwhile, the other contestants are trying desperately to locate the exit with little success. The raptors begin hunting the group and eventually corner a woman named Stephanie. Luckily, she is saved by Tucker at the last second, giving them both a chance to run the other way. Tucker continuously tries to repel the dinosaurs using his laser gun. However, the group eventually hits a dead end, forcing Tucker to shoot open an air duct. This allows the contestants to crawl inside and narrowly escape the flesh-eating monsters. Soon, Stephanie manages to reach the outer wall, while Tucker desperately holds the monsters back to buy her time. The group finally manages to escape the building and reach the outside. Once there, however, Tucker is quickly attacked by Albert, who steals his gun, only to realize it's completely out of ammo. Tucker quickly overpowers him, throwing him to the ground. Their fight is interrupted by the host, who announces that because Stephanie was the first to escape the maze, she is being rewarded with a map that reveals the location of vital supplies. Seeing this, the other contestants immediately begin fighting over the map. The two brothers eventually take it by force and leave the location to retrieve the supplies. With no other choice, Tucker and the others follow. As they move across the desolate landscape, they realize the area is crawling with danger, spotting numerous dinosaurs nearby. Things take a turn for the worse when the wasp is attacked by a giant carnivorous plant. The brothers desperately pull him out to save their ally, but the older brother soon realizes the man has been fatally poisoned by the plant. Before he dies, the wasp reveals a cruel truth. He never actually intended to help the brother's sick mother. As he breathes his last breath, the older brother becomes furious, cursing at the audience in frustration. The younger brother quickly reminds him that they cannot give up now. The group continues forward and eventually locates the supplies, but the host suddenly appears again. He warns them that the ground is filled with landmines. To demonstrate, he summons a giant dinosaur into the field, which is instantly blown to pieces after stepping on a bomb. He explains that the only way to navigate the minefield safely is by using the map. Overwhelmed by grief and the realization that his mother will likely die from her illness anyway, the older brother decides to forfeit the game. He wanders out of the boundaries and is instantly blown up. While the younger brother is crying in agony, a flock of flying dinosaurs notices their location. The creatures swoop down, snatching the younger brother and dropping him to his death. The remaining contestants rush toward the supplies. Stephanie manages to grab the knife and all the ammunition for herself. It is quickly revealed that she was never a team player. She refuses to give Tucker any ammo and begins threatening everyone around her instead. With no other choice, Tucker decides to approach Joy once again, trying to convince her to work together until the final level to increase their chances of winning. However, their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a loud scream as Albert begins viciously attacking Stephanie. Tucker rushes in and knocks Albert to the ground, but he is stabbed in the process. This allows Albert to seize the ammunition and the laser weapon. He begins firing wildly at the escaping contestants, but Tucker manages to slip away and head toward a rocky mountain range. Albert tracks him down like a predator, but Tucker is ready and ambushes him. The two engage in a furious struggle, and during the fight, the laser weapon is knocked away. Neither man is willing to give up, and they scramble desperately for the gun until it is kicked over the edge of a cliff. Albert, acting like a lunatic, slides down the rocks and manages to recover the weapon. He prepares to hunt Tucker down once more, but he soon realizes he has made a fatal mistake. He is completely surrounded by a swarm of flesh-eating insects. Albert is devoured alive by the horrific creatures, leaving nothing but bones behind. A sight so gruesome it even disgusts the host. Meanwhile, the showrunners realize something is very wrong. Their firewalls are being systematically shut down by an unknown virus. They trace the signal back to Laura, the reporter who has betrayed the company. Along with several other workers, she is determined to shut the show down for good. On the other side of the arena, Joy has made it to the Rocky Mountains. The other survivors are severely injured from their previous battles, but they refuse to give up, knowing this is their only way home to their families. Joy sees their weakened state and moves in to finish them off, but she is interrupted by a saber-toothed tiger. The beast lunges at her but misses, sliding over the cliff and becoming trapped in the brush below. This gives Joy a horrendous idea. She slowly stalks the wounded Stephanie from behind. Stephanie notices her and threatens Joy to back off, but Joy isn't intimidated. She kicks Stephanie over the cliff, turning her into cat food for the trapped saber-toothed tiger and ending her life in both the simulation and reality. Very soon, the host announces the final stage of the game. The remaining contestants move toward the glowing doors and arrive inside a massive desert. Only Tucker and Joy are left alive. However, they are quickly knocked out by the showrunners once again. When they wake up, they find chains tied to their legs and realize there is no way to break the restraints without a key. Suddenly, the host appears just as before. He reminds the players that only one of them can survive. To fuel the fire, he shows Tucker a video clip of his children, trying to manipulate him into killing his competitor. Tucker screams in rage, but what the host doesn't realize is that Laura has successfully infiltrated the control room, waiting for the perfect moment to sabotage the entire game. The host explains the rules of the final match. A giant green circle is drawn around the contestants, completely surrounding them. The mission is simple. Find the keys in the sand to unlock the chains. The first person to step outside the circle will be crowned the winner. Tucker immediately begins digging through the sand, but Joy has a different strategy. She slowly approaches him, acting like an annoying brat before kicking him squarely in the face. As she knocks him to the ground again, she begins revealing disturbing details about the murder of Tucker's wife. In a shocking twist, Joy reveals that she is the reason for Tucker's predicament. She was the actual killer. She begins striking Tucker furiously, causing the host to scream with excitement at the drama. However, Joy's physical strength is no match for Tucker's rage. He quickly retaliates, but before he can finish the fight, the host decides to make the game even more difficult. A gigantic T-Rex charges toward them, roaring furiously. Tucker is nearly devoured by the flesh-eating monster, getting tossed aside like a flying ragdoll. This chaos gives Joy the chance she needs to finally locate her key. She rushes to her padlock and unlocks the chains right under the feet of the giant dinosaur before sprinting away. Seeing the end in sight, the showrunners summon even more dinosaurs directly in front of the murderous girl. Joy suddenly finds herself completely surrounded by the flesh-eating monsters with nowhere left to run. However, the contestants soon notice that something is wrong. The massive dinosaurs begin roaring furiously at one another, completely turning their attention away from the tiny humans. It's revealed that these creatures were programmed to be extremely territorial. The monsters immediately begin attacking each other with their enormous jaws, forcing the humans to run for their lives. One of the T-Rexes eventually wins the battle, crashing its victim onto the ground. In the process, the falling carcass jams Joy's chains, trapping her. As the remaining dinosaurs roar and charge into another scrimmage right in front of them, Tucker finally locates his key. He rushes to the padlock, unlocks his chains, and sprints away from the clashing giants. Joy eventually manages to yank her chain free from the dead dinosaur and begins racing Tucker toward the outer boundary. One of the larger dinosaurs finally kills its rival and immediately sets its sights on the humans. The contestants rush desperately toward the finish line, and Tucker manages to cross it by the skin of his teeth. The audience erupts in cheers as the murderous girl is finally killed, while the giant T-Rex is stopped from attacking the main character any further. However, before Tucker can be officially announced as the victor, the broadcast is hijacked by Laura. Determined to end the reality show once and for all, she forces the host into his own game as payback for framing so many innocent people. The man eventually wakes up inside the simulation, staring up at a gigantic dinosaur that sees him as nothing more than a delicious human hamburger. This causes the T-Rex to devour the host in a single bite before roaring furiously at the audience. At that same moment, Tucker is finally pulled out of the virtual simulation. However, the chaos isn't over. Security guards immediately attack, trying to kill all the rebels inside the company. Laura is forced to fight back, but in the struggle, she is fatally wounded. Luckily, Tucker manages to survive the crossfire. Even though the game show's dark secrets are now buried alongside the brave reporter, Tucker is finally exonerated and returned home to his family. However, the nightmare isn't over. It is revealed that the Jurassic Games is still alive. The showrunners have already begun upgrading their dinosaurs with deadly weapons for future contestants. So, what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more.